Hello, and welcome to this Managing Stakeholders webinar, where we will provide you some consensus building tips. My name is Tracy Graff. I'm the owner of Fuse, a communications training company in the United States. We partner with Trish Thurley in the UK to offer Managing Stakeholders as one of our 10 training courses. Trish, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Tracy, and hello. I'm an experienced trainer and subject matter expert in simulations and in virtual delivery. And I founded Sims for Training 3 years ago to bring these great products and skills to a wider audience. So it's been a pleasure to partner with Fuse Communications on this. So back to Tracy to tell us a little bit more about it.
Thanks, Trish. We are going to give you some insights today into how to manage your stakeholders through the process of identification, prioritization, and engagement. These 3 pillars are essential to managing any project or even most tasks. You don't have to be the leader of a large team for managing stakeholders to provide you valuable tools. The webinar today and also the full 8-hour-long course of a Managing Stakeholders workshop can benefit anyone who wants to engage and influence partners. Anyone who manages or sponsors projects, who needs to gain the support of others to achieve their objective, whether those are internal or external stakeholders. Trish and I are going to provide you a sample of the techniques used in the full Managing Stakeholders workshop, which is an artificial intelligence business simulation game. That game allows participants to experiment in a safe, virtual, and highly engaging setting. In this live instructor-led course, participants will learn the delicate art of balancing profit and building consensus to drive the most positive business results possible. This is one of the most engaging and beneficial workshops I've ever experienced. So I'm going to hand it over to Trish to explain our first technique used in the Managing Stakeholders workshop, identification.
Thanks, Tracy. In business, the ability to get things done really hinges on having your key stakeholders on board, ideally aligned, and hopefully supporting your goals as well. And when we say stakeholders, we mean anyone who can affect what you're trying to achieve. And these could be co-workers, customers, employees, suppliers, special interest groups, politicians, even your friends and family can be stakeholders to what you're trying to do. And we can identify who's an important stakeholder of a project by asking some of these following questions. Whose support do you really need to maximize project success? Who could be considered a possible threat to your project? Who's got high or low influence over the outcome? And who's got the interest in the success or even the failure of your project? And from asking these questions, you end up with a list of names. Unfortunately, it's usually a big list and there are way too many stakeholders to deal with everybody fully. Not everyone's likely to give their backing to your project. And some of the stakeholders have demands that, we really need to push back on, but we don't want to compromise the outcome. So that leads us to that second step of prioritizing our stakeholders. Tracy.
Thanks, Trish. So once you've worked out who your key stakeholders are through that process of identification, it's helpful to then prioritize them. We can do so effectively by considering how much power and how much interest they have in our project. For example, very senior people are obviously powerful, yet they might not be interested in your particular project. Others have high interest, but low power. And our final example here, our boss certainly has both high power and high interest in our project success. It's also important to understand the social networks at play, as they can be complex and impactful. So for another example, someone with seemingly little power might be closely connected to powerful decision makers, and therefore it'd be wise to rank that individual accordingly also. So depending on the levels of power and interest of each stakeholder, we can then determine how much time and effort we allocate to each of them. We use the following 4 categories: Our highest priority is our manage closely's. Our second, we just need to keep them satisfied. Our third, only keep them informed. And finally, our fourth, just monitor them. So by looking at our stakeholders this way, you can manage the time you spend with each person more effectively. One problem people often encounter is how much relevant information they share. We often share everything with all stakeholders, and this can just lead to information overload or aggravating our stakeholders if the information is not relevant to them. So this brings us to our third pillar, effective engagement, which Trish will talk to you about.
Thank you, Tracy. So how can we effectively engage the people that we need? Well, it's really about building genuine rapport with them. The highest levels of engagement are achieved when you understand their interests and concerns. So in the Managing Stakeholder simulation, we show you how to do this by firstly asking open questions. These are the kind of questions that elicit more information from something. Tell me more about yourself or your concerns. We also seek their advice and opinions, and that makes them feel valued and listened to. And finally, we need to understand and listen to their concerns, really get to know what they care about. And this way, they're more likely to give their backing than if you try and go in with a hard sell. So you get the best outcome by focusing on which is the most relevant information for each stakeholder and tailoring your communications accordingly. So to sum up, stakeholder management is most effective when you take some time to identify who your stakeholders are, prioritize the key stakeholders and your interactions with those stakeholders, and get them actively engaged with you and your project. So now let's talk a little bit about what you'll get from the full Managing Stakeholders 8-hour course. So it helps to develop the abilities in building consensus by listening and influencing the right people in an efficient way. It helps you manage complex and demanding situations and be better equipped to deal with them in the real world. And it helps you collaborate to make better decisions quickly and virtually, like real life demands, especially in the current climate. And this is all within a risk-free simulation. You know, like pilots, they don't just step in a plane and fly, particularly a passenger airliner. They learn the theory, they practice in a simulator to build confidence and skills, and then they go live safely. So simulated training blends immersive gaming with real life scenarios in a business setting. And simulations work on two levels to be really effective as a teaching aid. First of all, they stimulate the pleasure and reward centers in the brain to keep us engaged and unable to put it down. They also take you on an emotional journey. Typically, this involves some early success and then a few setbacks. And then it's followed by a greater level of success. And that together makes the learning go in deep, makes it stick, and it really changes our behavior back in the workplace. Now Tracy's going to tell you more about how you can experience this workshop for real. Tracy.
Thanks. Yeah, we'd love to offer you all listening or watching this webinar today a special offer where you can get 10% off either by attending our public workshop on June 24th and 25th. This is a really rare occasion where individuals can sign up themselves to experience the full Managing Stakeholders workshop on June 24th and 25th. The other option is how we are typically facilitating this is where an organization hires us to facilitate this privately for a group of individuals. Either of these settings can be virtual, or in the scenario where maybe someday we'll be able to go back in person, we can deliver it in person at a company also. But right now we're delivering most of these all virtually. And so you get 10% off either of those options, attending the public workshop or an in-house workshop for your group if you reach out to us by June 18th to redeem this offer. Both of our contact information is up there. Trish in the UK and me, Tracy, in the US. Reach out to either of us to redeem this offer. So thank you so much for your time with this brief sample of Managing Stakeholders. Trish?
Yeah, thank you from me for joining us. I hope you found that helpful, and we hope to see you on a workshop soon, either virtually or in person. Thank you. Tracy.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.